Yes, another episode of Unfiltered coming your way. This one officially go down as episode 251. You can get them all 24/7, 365. Go to the artist formerly known as Twitter, X if you will, up into the bio at Casey Stern. Jump on the YouTube channel or where most of you are, Apple, Spotify, everywhere you get your better podcasts. And this is a special one today, reunited, because it feels so good. Former broadcast partner. You can find him all week long on Loud Outs on MLB Network Radio. He is an Emmy Award-winning analyst for AT&T Sportsnet with the Rockies. And he is the great Spilly, Ryan Spilborghs. Spilly, I appreciate this, buddy. Good to be back with you. How are you?
You know what? Every time I hear your voice and we start going through, like our opens together, it feels really good, man. It feels always good to do a little broadcast with you, man. It's good to see you.
It is good to see you, too. It is also good to be seen. So let me get this out of the way. Bet Online, your number one source for your sports betting needs. Finds a matchup reports for baseball, basketball, boxing, golf, and more. They're the fastest and easiest way for all your wagers, betting, casino, and card games, and they're all available right now from your phone. So get over to the website, people. Use your mobile device. Sign up today. Get in on this action. Remember to use the promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV. It'll get you a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. It is Bet Online where the game starts, and I'm getting started here and getting this right out of the way because I know you're at Dodger camp today. I want to get into the Dodgers and talk about all the free agents, but let's halt this thing. So take me to imaginary moment where you are sitting there in a batter's box or on photo day and you realize you're wearing see-through pants. Like, have you thought about what it would be like because you watch players nowadays and most of their situations you've experienced. This is one that's going to be in a small list, Billy, of something you've never had to go through before. The see-through pants situation. What the hell?
I can't wait for the first rain delay. That's what I'm looking forward to. I think there is a giant miss. Like Nike, I think the story goes Nike outsourced the manufacturing of these uniforms to Fanatics. And Fanatics just destroyed it. So I think there's got to be some resolution. It's also really funny. Look, Casey Schmidt is loving it, right? The guys that are being highlighted, and I mean, like, there's no such thing as bad publicity because it's been good. Look, as much as these uniforms are awful,
they look terrible, Spilly.
They're
the see-through. They look terrible.
They look terrible. Look, the numbers are too small. The names are the letters aren't too big. Like the pipe, like they're terrible. They look cheap. They look cheap. So, hopefully they get resolved. Otherwise, these players are just going to wear last year's model. But I will say, the amount of GIFs and memes. My favorite one so far that I read was, I'm not buying my wife lingerie. I bought her a pair of Fanatics pants. And I'm like, God, that's so good. Like, all these things are so good. So I love it. I'm looking forward to when a guy hits a homer, I'm just going to call it a dong. That way you don't know the difference. And just have a blast with it. I mean, there's so many places for us to just run away with it.
Here's the thing that I really can't fathom, which is the crazy part. It looks like it was created on MLB The Show by a 12-year-old. You know, like, you can create the jerseys there for, like, your favorite team, and you put the lettering and the numbering. It looks horrific. Like, how the hell did this pass however many people at 3 different entities, the league, right, Nike, Fanatics, to even get to this point? And then the other part is, how do you fix it? Because, like, the part that I hate is, like, look, I know everybody gets in the commissioner for everything. I'm somewhere in the middle, but I would like them to just admit, hey, this sucks. We need to get it fixed. We understand. Don't worry, we're on it. What's wrong with saying that?
Because you have to admit that you made a mistake.
So what?
So what? When was the last time you heard that coming from the commissioner's office?
No, that's the problem. Never.
I mean, it is what it is. You have channels to blame. You can say, hey, listen, it's manufacturing. It's supply chain issues, whatever. I mean, we've gone from the pandemic to issue central. I think that's what you ride. I think I've already seen numerous teams that they're saying, I was like, what pants are you wearing? And they're going, I don't know, check the button. Cause that's the best way that you can tell. There's a button on the back. which again, like buttons are good for Lululemon pants.
Yeah.
For baseball pants, buttons are bad. So I don't know. I don't want anybody to lose their job. I just want them to fix it. If you fix it, we're good. I mean, it's spring training for everybody. So first year with these type of uniforms, I'm sure Nike's looking at their protocol going like, what the hell did we do wrong? So hopefully it gets resolved. I don't want to kill everybody at all times, but it's funny. I'll take it as it's funny now. If this is still an issue in mid-June, then we'll start really kind of wearing people out.
You're going to have a lot of players that are now in the category of being able to put together an OnlyFans account just by wearing these pants.
Hey, people make money there. Yeah, people make money there. So I wouldn't throw it past anybody.
It is no joke. All right, let me get to, I want to hit a number of things, but let me start here because I knew we were there today. Do you remember during your playing days, and I know that you dealt with seeing in your division the Dodgers, and you saw a lot of teams that look, it depends on the era, but I think about, the years that, and you were in the playoffs during those years, the Phillies, right, were the top team in the National League and nobody should show up. And then after that, we had the Nationals and the whole Strasburg thing and nobody should show up. Do you remember a team riding with the pressure the Dodgers have over the last couple of decades? Because I don't know if it's to the point of World Series or bust at the level the Dodgers are going to feel it on the field this year. Tell me I'm wrong.
I will say you're not wrong, but I also don't think you're looking at Atlanta through the right lenses because Ohtani is Beatlemania. Dave Roberts said that to us today. Ohtani is Beatlemania. And I think because we see Ohtani with the Dodgers, it's World Series or bust. What the Braves have put together, because I still look at the Braves trading for Chris Sale, just knowing that your entire roster is controllable superstars, reigning MVP. Max Fried leaves at the end of this year. Spencer Strider's pants. Okay, that's one that probably needs to get changed from Fanatics already because you can't have quads like that. I think Atlanta's bar is just as high as the Dodgers as far as World Series or bust. It's just that there's no Ohtani and Japanese media covering Atlanta the way that they're doing the Dodgers. So I think internally, I think from if I'm in Dodgers camp, you're thinking World Series or bust. If I'm in Braves camp, throwing on a Braves uniform, I'm thinking World Series or bust. So I think the narrative is correct in saying that I think the majority of people will see it that way. But from within the clubhouses, both of these teams believe that they are going to the World Series, Atlanta and the Dodgers. And I like if I was to throw a third team in, especially if some of these price tags fall down for Jordan Montgomery or Blake Snell, I would say Philadelphia would be a World Series or bust team. And only the National League has World Series or bust teams. There isn't really, I mean, you might argue with me, hey, Baltimore's a World Series. Baltimore is not a World Series or bust team. They haven't gotten over the hump.
No.
These three teams specifically, Philadelphia was a game away from knocking out the Diamondbacks and being in the World Series. It's Philly, Atlanta, Dodgers. That's it as far as World Series or bust in baseball next year.
Yeah, and look, a couple of things. One, I think Atlanta is as good, if not better, than the Dodgers. I just think, to your point, the pressure, the perceived value is going to be so absorbently high. It's going to be crazy. And for Doc, he can be feeling a very different thing that Brian Snitker is going to be feeling every day. The American League is interesting because a lot of those teams don't have pressure because Texas just won. They got over the hump. So regardless of what happens, how many years in a row, 7 ALCSs, all these World Series for the Astros, and you expect maybe this is the year there's a dip, maybe there's not, but even if it is, the only team that I think maybe has or is putting more pressure than their roster would say it should would be the Yankees, which will get even worse if a Snell, let's say, comes in on a deal because they have been out of it for so long and haven't won in so long. And the fan base believes that that's what they're owed, that there's going to be a pressure that's greater than their roster. I don't know that they're the best team in the division, let alone the league. But how do you look at kind of where the Yankees are at right now? And do you think that they should push harder for a Snell or a Dylan Cease to get that done because of where they sit now in the AL?
Yes. Oh, Casey, we have talked about, I mean, prospects are cool, right?
Yes, I've heard that. Yeah.
I think with the Yankees, I love their offseason. I think they are in a really good position. I've heard that, some people think that they're underrated. I don't think they're underrated. I think they're just right. I believe when I'm looking at the Yankees team, because I'm not 100% sold on Toronto, although I think Toronto is way better than people realize. I think Tampa's taking a step backwards. Boston's going to be awful. Boston is going to be
on Netflix.
Boston's going to be, but the Casey, even if we're talking about Boston on Netflix, we don't get to see this until next year. It's not like it
but of all the years, the Boston Strong, the 2004, of all the years, it's like, really? But go ahead.
You picked the worst possible year when
terrible. It's going to be fun for people to watch because they like watching misery.
But it won't even happen until next year.
No,
it's not. They're not doing the true hard knocks. I think Baltimore is legit. I think Baltimore is a legit organization in a perfect position. I still think Baltimore is better than the Yankees. But to your point, if the Yankees are in desperation mode, which I believe they should be, I really do. I don't think that this is like, hey, we set this thing up so we're going to be successful for a long period of time, like the Baltimore Orioles.
No, they got to win now, especially because you don't know what Soto is going to do.
Well, it's Toronto and New York have to be desperate. They have to be desperate because don't know what's going to happen if Vladdy's going to take another step backwards or if he goes back to MVP form. What is the rotation going to look like in both the Yankees sense or Toronto's sense? Is Alek Manoah really back? You have multiple players that are coming up against free agency. You have Soto. I don't know what Aaron Judge is capable of doing over a course of the year because he's dealing with the toe and you're throwing him in center field, which is just craziness to me. Throw him in right, throw Trent Grisham in center, and throw Juan Soto back in left field, or put Judge in left. If you really think Juan's that bad of a left fielder, throw Judge in left, Grisham in center, and Soto in right. But they have to have a sense of urgency here. If you're the Yankees, you cannot say we're waiting another year because what's the guarantee that Garrett Cole is going to repeat what he's been doing? He has been unbelievable, Case. He's been unbelievable. He's worth every penny. But I don't know what Carlos Rodon's going to be. I don't know what Nasty Nestor's going to be. I don't know what the rotation's going to look like. I like the back end of the bullpen, but they have to be, if you're talking about win now, World Series or bust mentality, I hope the Yankees have it. I don't think they are the team that's going to represent the American League in the World Series as they're currently constructed. I don't know. I feel like there's another move in there, even though I really love what the Yankees have done.
You and I sat next to each other in San Diego when Cole signed. And remember, the Angels didn't want to give an extra year to play in on that. And just think about those teams that thought it's an overpay, say years 8, 9, but who cares when you get the first 5, 6 the way that he's been. Cole been brilliant. It's interesting. You mentioned, you think about the Red Sox and teams that haven't gone far enough. I want to go back to the Dodgers because people wonder if they've gone too far and did they spend too much money. I know everybody wants to hate them, but where are you on this idea? They're going to be the villain in the league because they're either going to be the darling or the villain. They're going to feel that. Speaking of the Yankees, what the Yankees felt for so many years in some ways. But is it fair? I mean, who wouldn't want to root for a team? This is why I laugh. It's like, who wouldn't want to root for a team that's spending $1 billion in an offseason and get Yamamoto's jersey and have Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman hitting back to back to back? I know not in that order, but in a batting order. You're sitting there in Colorado, you're going to hear it all year about how the big bad Dodgers are terrible for baseball. What's your reaction to that?
Stop. Artie Moreno ruined it. Look.
Well, fair.
Artie Moreno had the opportunity to sign Shohei Ohtani to the exact same deal that the Dodgers did. Artie Moreno says fair. He doesn't do deferrals. So Shohei brought the same deal to the table for the Dodgers, and Stan Kasten, if you've heard him talk about it, he was like, "What? Can you explain that to me again?" And he's like, "Yeah, I want to defer it so you have plenty of money during the time that I'm here for you to add people around." It's a 20-year deal for $700 million. It's not a 10-year deal for $700 million. It's 20 years for 700, and there's still $45 million against the Dodgers out of pocket. It's not the bargain that everybody wants to make it sound like. It's moving paper, it's moving money, but this is on the league. This is on Artie Moreno. If you're going to complain that Shohei Ohtani as a Dodger isn't fair, then blame Artie. He had the same deal. That was the first deal that was offered, was to the Angels, and to Shohei offered it. Artie, don't do deferrals. Okay. So,
yeah, right.
And then do you blame Ohtani for wanting to join an organization that first off, he's comfortable with, and second off, can implement the ability to attract fans to a level for especially Japanese fans? And Casey, I play in Japan. I say this all the time. People in the United States, you're in a bubble. You recognize baseball as California baseball or Arizona baseball, or what the New York Mets are doing in New York or Atlanta. You don't realize that Ohtani and the fan base he has, because you don't see it. You can't see it. It's overseas. It's in a different country. It's an 8-hour flight away. You don't recognize the fandom that Ohtani brings. It is a phenomenon that you do not understand. I understand it because I witnessed it firsthand. I lived in the country. Baseball is the top sport. It is the NFL times 10. And to have a Japanese player, because they are so proud of their baseball acumen, to have the best player in the world, the face of baseball, representing their country. This is Michael Jordan. This is Kobe Bryant. This is Messi. That represents an entire country. You do not understand the gravity that means for an organization. Dodgers did. There are Japanese fans that are taking flights direct from Tokyo to Phoenix right now to watch batting practice. This is the tip of the iceberg. So I think the Dodgers were able to take this opportunity, which again, this was basically, you discarded your future wife because you didn't want the deferral.
It's absurd.
Somebody else could have. So is Artie punted this thing, and somebody took it to the house.
Well, here's the guy who didn't even. I was going to say, here's a guy who didn't even know if he wanted to own the team just a couple of months before that. Then could have sold Ohtani at the deadline and gotten a ransom before he was injured. Remember when he was?
He could have done the same with Mike Trout.
Correct. Could have done. Forget it. But your point, I want to go back to, because you're dead on. I remember a poll. I talk about this often. Years and years ago, they had ESPN does this poll every year. Top 100 most familiar or popular faces in sports, right? Athletes in the world. The only one that was in the top 100 that was a baseball player was Derek Jeter. He was number 13. He had retired 3 years before that. He was retired. Okay. Ohtani has broken the landscape of all of that. He's in his own world, but he's not alone with the Dodgers in terms of stardom. And now Yamamoto has joined him. And I'm just curious, because you're at the camp and we know how special the stuff is. So I know the repertoire is there. But what has been the reaction? Because this could speak to this better than me. Peers will see it differently. Hitters who then get to watch it, other pitchers who watch him throw a BP. What has been the reaction around camp to how special this dude is?
He's special, but you have to do it in a game. Major leaguers will tell you this guy has a chance to be special, but he has to perform. So the reactions I got from Yamamoto today from his teammates is, yeah, but we got to see it. So there's this excitement about it because, oh man, exploding fastball, high command, location, both sides of the plate, up and down. He's able to speed you up, slow you down. There's a fork ball off of it, or split finger, whatever you want to call it. So you got a little bit of east and west, north and south. That's hard to do. It's hard to find a pitcher that has all 4 quadrants, and I can speed you up, slow you down. It's really hard to find. You got to go out and perform. And perform every what day? Is it every 5th day? Is it every 6th day? Are you going to have trouble with the baseball at first? Are you going to have trouble with command? We already saw Kodai Senga. Sorry to the Mets. Sorry to you. That shoulder capsule is an issue. Also, I want to point out, and I'm not knocking Yamamoto at all. I'm just pointing this out because I think this has been the biggest misnomer. Is he's 25 years of age, correct?
Yep.
Part of the reason why Yamamoto is able to sign this massive deal, and I'm so thankful to see the NPB and Japanese players break these numbers in this market, having never played the big leagues, because I'm telling you, Japanese baseball is that good. But my apprehension here is the 12 years, $325 million. This feeding frenzy for Yamamoto is based on the fact he was 25 years of age. Yamamoto in the last 6 years has thrown 1,000 innings, the same amount of innings that Blake Snell's thrown. So you have the same wear and tear on Yamamoto's shoulder, because an inning's an inning, a pitch is a pitch. Same for one guy's is literally, it's the same. Like it's tread on your tires. It's exactly the same whether you're talking to me about age. So you could be 25, you could be 30. 1,000 innings is 1,000 innings for a 25.
Like King Felix was like 50 years old by the time he was 27 because he's been pitching forever, for example. Yes.
So that's where I'm kind of like,
yep.
I think the Dodgers see it the same way. There's a little bit of protection. There's built-in protections. Why they went for a James Paxton. I think they're really happy about Tyler Glass now. It's also why they built the rotation where it is, which is not an innings-eating rotation. They're just going to hammer you for as many times through the lineup that they give that they're comfortable at. They've been top. They were 22nd in baseball last year in innings pitched from a starting rotation. They're probably going to be lower than that this year. That's okay. That's how they want their rotation to work out. It's 5 innings built for the postseason. But you're talking about a unproven commodity that, Casey, do you think Yamamoto is a top 10 pitcher in Major League Baseball?
I can't put him there until I see it.
Okay. Top 25?
I think talent, yes. On both, probably talent. But I can't put him there till I see it. So I get it. So so that's that, and that I think is a fair reaction to it. I think that's, you can't tell me he's a top 10 pitcher. You've never seen it. No, but
that's
he's got a
the
chance
same way that the player
got a chance.
He has a chance to be, but to do that is really hard.
Oh, well,
that's really,
and most of the guys that we pin that will do it don't. We're usually surprised by some of the guys. Oh, we didn't know he would be that good, rather than the guys who
he might be that good in 3 years.
Right.
But he might not be that good right out the gate.
Right. And we'll see what the transition is, obviously, with Yamamoto. I want to hit you on a couple of other things and sneak in a thought on Todd Helton before we get out. The free agency. Everybody, and you and I have, and I know you've got a long relationship with Scott, and you and I have talked to Scott together a million times. Scott Boras is often misunderstood because he does whatever he can do for his players. He's not doing it for you, the fan, and he's not doing it for the team necessarily. He's doing his job. But at the same time, there are times where you wonder on the outside if his ego, because of his success in doing that, has gotten in the way, and if it's a detriment to certain players who maybe are asking for too much. The Bellinger situation gets to 3 years. He was asking for, depending upon what report you believe, 7 or 8 for Bellinger and trying to get more. You still got Snell and Montgomery out there. How much of this is fair to attribute to the relationships that Scott has with the teams? And how much of that is overblown? Because he's got big name clients that are still out there, Spilly.
I think this year specifically, it's a little more complicated than Scott. I think Scott has had a reputation, but I also believe in it, and I know that some of these players have not received offers. You know, that's public. That's not Scott saying, hey, there's a mystery team. No, Scott's telling you some of his clients haven't received offers. Now the question becomes then why? You know, is the asking price too high? To your point, is hey, we're assuming that he wants 9 years or 8 years or 6 years. Our team's actually asking the term length. Is Scott giving the term length? And they're going, okay, we're good. It's like when you walk up to a restaurant and you see the menu on the outside and you go, yeah, no, we can't afford that's $89 for a steak. We're going to go down the street. It could very well be that way. I cannot tell you that from a reaction of a front office because I don't know what the sticker shock is. But I can tell you, and it's been public, RSNs have slowed down the market. The regional sports networks and the complications of what was going on, part of it, I think, is league contrived. I do believe Commissioner's office has a hand in slowing down the market. The reason why is some of these bankruptcy deals were supposed to be done in December. They were pushed down the road. Rob Manfred is a skilled negotiator. He was an excellent lawyer. I think in this sense, pushing it a little bit later, whether that was intentional or unintentional, again, I can't speak for it. I just tell you what the optics look like. By pushing it into January, and in the case of Minnesota, the Guardians, and the Rangers, their media rights deals didn't get resolved until the end of January. Is that happenstance? Especially when some of these bankruptcy meetings were pushed back multiple weeks? I don't know. I will also point out, though, is when you consider some of these RSN deals and the apprehension that the league has talked about, because they've said it, the front offices are letting you know the Rangers, the Twins, the Cardinals, I mean, like the Guardians, they all said even a year ago, we're most likely going to not be active as we wait to see how these things play out. So is that Scott Boras's fault? No. Is it part of why the reason the market was slowed down? Yes. Is it the main reason why the market slowed down? I don't think so. But I think as you see my point is I presented you multiple variables on why I believe the markets were slowed, and it happened to be for Scott Boras clients as well. And there's a lot of good players that are still out there that are not Scott Boras clients.
I want to be remiss not to before I let you run because I thought of you when, and I remember from a fan standpoint, just covering the game, Todd to me has always been a Hall of Famer, but I know obviously much more so to the heartstrings to you because of the relationship and what he's meant to you and getting a chance to see firsthand the leadership skills in addition to all the statistics. You knew what was coming. We probably saw the writing on the wall with all the numbers where they were tracking Spilly, but once you finally heard it, kind of describe the feeling of getting to see your friend and one of the guys you looked up to in the game during your career, and Todd Helton, now a Hall of Famer.
So it was a funny sequence of when it happened. I was on radio that day. I felt like there's a chance that there's going to be 3 Hall of Famers. I felt like Adrian Beltre was a Hall of Famer. I wasn't quite sure about Joe Mauer. I was really hopeful about Todd Helton, and I was fingers crossed that I was going to see Billy Wagner in there. And the way it worked out when Josh Rawitch was going through it, and I was home watching it on Zoom. I just dropped off my son at baseball practice, and I was walking in with nervous energy, and I go, Stace, here it comes. I was like, Beltre got in, Mauer just got in, and I don't know. And she was like, do you think Todd's going to get in? And I was like, I don't know. And then Josh, says the third player, and it's Todd. And like, my wife's like, are you going to cry? I was like, yeah, I was emotional about it. I was like, because it's not too many times in life. I mean, especially when you think about, first off, being a big leaguer is pretty freaking awesome. I never thought I'd be a big leaguer. You play with somebody for a long period of time. They are your friend. We used to have a teddy bear in our house that Todd would give first time parents. That was so ridiculously big. It was like a 200-pound teddy bear. It took a truck to get it home. But this teddy bear was called Mr. Todd, right? Like this big stupid teddy bear. We would all it's like a giant bean bag. Todd was a part of our kids, like that was part of the gift. And I know Todd was the one going to the to the teddy bear store to buy his Christy, his wife. But that's how, we were connected to him. And when you think of the history of the game and 23,000 players and less than 350 of them are Hall of Famers, and one of those is a teammate of yours that you admire and is also a friend of yours that you admire, it's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool thing to see somebody get. Like that's not a normal occurrence. I don't think many people have friends that get inducted into Cooperstown.
No. And I think that, to me, I remember many, many years ago walking through the hall and somebody saying that this is supposed to tell the story of the game, but the story of the franchises. That franchise that you have that relationship with cannot have that story told without him there. It just can't. So it's fitting for him. And look, as a former teammate that I admire, I appreciate you coming on. Always a pleasure. Make sure to wear, boxer briefs under the see-through pants if you decide to wear any.
I feel like we've heard of stuffing the ballot, stuffing getting your pants stuffed before a major league game. You're gonna have outfielders that have never worn a cup before. Are gonna wear a cup this year.
Even if Adrian Beltre was playing now, I think he would have reversed his decision just considering with the pants. I always appreciate you, man.
Stuffed ziti, stuffed. What else? Stuffed animals and stuffed baseball players.
Where else can you get it? I appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of the spring training tour. We'll catch up soon, Spilly. My pleasure, man. Thank you,
buddy.
All right, there he is, Ryan Spilborghs, episode 251 in the books. You can catch us over on Twitter, X, if you will, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, everywhere you get your podcast.